Hey everyone, welcome. If we haven't met before, I'm Rebecca Pickens. I am a certified book coach and developmental editor, and I am host of Self-Editing Essentials, a group coaching program for fiction and memoir writers who have finished or almost finished writing their books and are ready to learn the art of self-editing. If you want to hear more about the ways that I support writers, check out my links in the comments section. Okay, so every week I like to hop on here and answer questions from my writing community. This week's question is such a good one. It comes from Faith, and she asks, how do you write from a quiet and introspective character's point of view without boring your reader? I feel like what's going on in the narrative in my story happens mostly in the character's head, and I'm struggling to get her to act or get something to happen to her while not getting stuck in her thoughts all the time. This is a question that I think is especially helpful for those of you who are writing memoir or literary fiction. When we tend to be doing this stuff that can tend to be a little bit more introspective, kind of cerebral, there is this danger of spending so much time in a character's head that we start to lose sight of what's going on around them. And we start to forget to give them something to respond to or to react to. And when we do that, our stories can sometimes feel a little bit too passive, a little too quiet. And there are some really easy ways to fix this very important issue. So the challenge is your main character is living in her head. She is reflective, she's observant, she feels things so deeply. But maybe there's not a lot happening outside in her real world. So the question becomes, how do you keep readers or agents for that matter hooked and interested enough to keep turning the pages? How do you make them feel invested in this character who on the surface is perhaps a little bit passive, a little bit stuck and unable to respond to what's going on around them? Fortunately, there are lots of techniques we can use because these characters are actually some of my favorite kind of characters to read and write. There's a lot happening in their lives. It gets shown in a different kind of way. So, one of the tips I have is don't just let her think, let her struggle, right? If you're a parent, you know that one of your jobs is to try to keep your child safe and comfortable and protected. As writers, we have to fight that urge and instead throw every single bad bit of anything at our characters that we possibly can, because of course that's what makes compelling storytelling. So we want to see your character really struggle with her thoughts. And in doing so, we're turning all that reflection into tension. And tension of no matter how it manifests itself, that is the thing that keeps readers reading. So here's an example. She wondered if she would ever fit in. So that's that introspective, sort of passive, quiet, reflected, reflective sentence. And there's nothing wrong with it. We're, of course, using that as an example because what we're trying to do is look for bits like that that we can ramp up and infuse with tension. Not every sentence needs to do that. But when you're looking, when that is the goal, watch what we can do instead. Every street reminded her she didn't belong here and never would. Do you see that difference, right? On the one hand, in the first example, she's just wondering something. We don't learn more about her. We don't understand why she has these feelings. We don't feel particularly compelled to find out. But in that second sentence, things are ramped up a little bit. We understand that this is coming from a sense of not fitting in the anywhere, and this feeling that this feeling is infinite. It's never going to stop. This is who she is. This is really um, at the heart of all of her struggles, right? It's just a more expanded and deeper look at where this character is at. We want to show your character's emotions also through her surroundings and through her physical state. You can think about this as externalizing the inner world. So everything that's happening inside your character can be expressed in an outward way. This is going to make the writing far more dynamic and original and interesting to your reader. So here are just some really simple examples. Let's say you want to show your character's anxiety. She kept her smile steady, but her fingers wouldn't stop tracing the edge of her cup. So now you're giving your reader something to look at, to interpret, and that's much more interesting than simply being told this character was anxious. In showing anger, you might write something like, her voice stayed calm, but the pen in her hand left deep grooves in the paper. So again, we can feel that there's more to this character than what immediately it sounds like, right? There's this hint by the deep grooves in the paper that this character is feeling something very intense. She adjusted the photo frame again, though it was already straight. This is a good way to show grief. Why does she keep coming back to this photo? What is being suggested here? We're sort of teasing the reader, helping them start to wonder, piquing their curiosity. Heat crawled up her neck, and she busied herself with her napkin. In this instance, we're showing embarrassment, and this is just a very interesting way to show it. Again, much more interesting than being privy to the thoughts inside of her head. Simply, she was embarrassed. We're seeing it instead, or we're almost feeling it in this case. We can feel that heat that's crawling up her neck. So what we're doing here is just really letting the outside of what's happening to your character, reflect what's going on inside of them. This just spices things up. It gives the reader some variety. We get to see emotions explained or shown in a more interesting way than simply being told what's going on in the character's head. Because again, that can feel very passive. That can be more difficult to connect with. Another way to really bring that kind of passive, reluctant character to life is to ground some of the details in sensory details. So anchor that introspection that your character is feeling, that's like right up here, ground it in the physical world. Here's an example. The scent of burnt toast clung to the kitchen as the argument replayed in her mind. These sensory details are keeping the reader present in what's happening to your character. Even when your character is kind of lost in thought and maybe not tuned into what's going on around them, the reader knows exactly what's happening and sees that level of distraction perhaps that your character is undergoing. So again, this is just a more interesting way to express where your character's head is at. Using micro conflicts is a great way to thread some tension into your story and to really heighten what's at stake. Say something, she told herself, anything, but the words got stuck and she said nothing. Inner tension, like what we see right here, this kind of battle that your character is having with herself, can be part of the plot if you treat it like conflict. So suddenly, this inner thought, when infused with conflict, creates this tension that no longer feels passive and quiet and maybe easy to overlook. It really brings these emotions to the forefront. And again, we're interested, we're invested in what's happening. And then if your character is not doing a lot, if they're kind of in this response mode right now where they're just taking things in, maybe they're wallowing in some big emotions right now and they don't have the capacity to really act on anything, that's a perfect chance to let the world push back instead. Your character doesn't have to act first. The world can push them forward. So examples of how that may happen, a letter could arrive. There could be a confrontation from a stranger. Maybe a memory gets triggered somehow by a smell or something someone says. Quiet characters often work best when they are forced into motion by some kind of external circumstance. And then your character has no choice but to do something. And that something is often very interesting and the very reason that your reader has shown up. They want to see how this character is going to react to whatever it is that life has just thrown at them. So I just want you to keep in mind for all you folks who are writing quiet, introspective, character-driven novels, they're fantastic. If you're writing memoir and your memoir is a very reflective, deep piece and you're in your head a lot, that's fantastic. Both of these kinds of stories have a very strong following and are can be extremely captivating. Quiet does not mean boring. I'm gonna say that one more time. Quiet does not mean boring, not at all. But what it does mean is every thought, every glance, every hesitation that your character expresses matters. It's there for a reason, and it's there to engage readers' attention and move that character forward in some kind of in some kind of way that raises tension, that raises stakes, and keeps our interest. I wish you the best of luck. If you're writing about a character who is kind of passive or quiet and you've had similar challenges, please share those in the comments section. If you have questions about writing characters like this, stick those questions in the comments. I would love to talk with you. And if you liked this video, I would be so grateful if you would hit like and subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one. Every Tuesday, I share a new video about writing, publishing, editing, and whatever is on the mind of the folks in my community. So please subscribe. I would love to see you here again next week. And for more about the support that I offer writers, you can check out my links in the comments section. Thanks. See you next week.